Good afternoon and welcome. Excellent. Thank you for the thumbs up. Okay, so my name is Sullivan McIntyre, and I am the Senior Director of Product Management on the Marketing Cloud's Einstein and Analytics team. And I am super excited this afternoon to be talking to you about the integration between Salesforce and Google Marketing Platform. And I've been working with the Google team for around 18 months on the various integrations between these really neat pieces of technology. But this afternoon, we're not just going to talk to you about positioning slides and technical slides. We're actually going to let some of our customer trailblazers speak to you and tell you what they've been doing with our powerful integrations. So before we get into all of the exciting material, I do have one really boring slide to show you, I'm afraid. The good old-fashioned forward-looking statement slide. This is just telling you to please make your purchasing decisions based on the technology as it's available at the moment. But everything we're talking about in the slides is already generally available, and we may touch on some upcoming features as well. But just to get us started, I'll give you a couple of introductions. So obviously there's me on the left-hand side, but I'm really proud to be introducing today Clint from Travel Money Group Australia. He's based up in Brisbane. And Clint's been doing some really interesting integrations between Salesforce Marketing Cloud and GA360 as a very B2C focused company. And so he's going to be telling us a bit about what they've been tackling and achieving with their integrations so far. Also very pleased to be welcoming Tony from Vocus Communications. And Vocus Communications bring connectivity to the Australian and New Zealand markets, and as a bit more of a B2B focused company, they have primarily integrated Sales Cloud CRM with Google Analytics 360, and Tony's going to be talking to you about the results they've achieved by integrating these two platforms together. And finally, on the left-hand side of the stage, really pleased to be welcoming along Sebastian from the Google Partnerships team. He and I work together on the integration between platforms and bringing innovation to all of our customer trailblazers. So really good to be sharing the stage with our Google teammates. Okay, just to set the scene, firstly, I'll take you through a bit of a brief introduction to the platforms that we're talking about today. I'll take you through the actual integration points and the kind of features that we have now available. Then we'll get to the interesting stuff, and the customers who are on stage can take you through their use cases, the people, process, and technology challenges that they've tackled and have overcome. And then we'll have a kind of Q&A session, and Sebastian will be asking some questions. We'll get into some of the detail about what our customers have achieved. So, firstly, the two platforms. On the left-hand side, you see the architecture of Salesforce, the customer success platform. And Salesforce is a system for managing awesome customer experiences across sales, service, marketing, and commerce. And it's underpinned by some key foundational elements as well, like Trailhead, the App Exchange for enterprise application management and selection, and also Einstein, which is our underpinning set of technologies around artificial intelligence and machine learning. Some really nifty solutions in there. On the other hand, or the other side of the slide, is Google Marketing Platform. And this is the unified platform from Google for managing both marketing and advertising technology. Now, with the unification of a couple of different platforms which were previously separate, there are now shared logins, there's a shared metadata and a shared data model. And regardless of whether you're managing interactions in terms of clicking on ads, engaging in marketing material, whether you're on a website, or whether you're trying to manage the experience for a consumer in an application, all of that can be managed comprehensively in the Google Marketing Platform. Just to get a touch more detailed, not going to go full nerd, but we'll go half nerd. Just to be clear, the integration flows of data that we have are between Sales Cloud, which is one directional, and this is where offline events, things like opportunities and so forth, opportunities also with metadata like product attributes, the machine learning calculated propensity scores, all of that kind of cool metadata, that can be synced seamlessly into Analytics 360. We'll both have a look at what that looks like in the product in a second, and we'll be asking our customers what they've done with this as well. The Salesforce Marketing Cloud set of integrations and data flows is actually bi-directional as well. So the Marketing Cloud will now manage the flow of metadata across all of your emails and all of your journeys into GA360. And then really powerfully, the GA360 system itself will send both reporting at an aggregate level in quite a lot of detail, and really uniquely in the marketplace, will synchronize whole audiences of individuals from GA360 back into the Marketing Cloud, so you can take those audiences of people on a multi-channel marketing journey. Okay, so one final slide from me, just around the actual integrations that we have available. So what's out there that you can use. And all of these features are now generally available. Very pleased to be able to confirm that. That's all entirely my hard work. The Sales Data and Analytics 360 feature on the left-hand side has been generally available for quite some time. It's been upgraded a couple of different ways, but this, in terms of use cases, achieves a few different things. So firstly, by synchronizing offline events like reps selling goods and so forth into GA360, you can carry out full funnel analysis across your entire sales and marketing funnel. You can also then integrate offline purchases, for example, if a rep is selling goods over the phone, into a full attribution modeling flow, which is available in Google Analytics 360. And finally, another really good use case is lookalike modeling and lookalike advertising, so that you can actually find the people who are most likely to be similar to those who've already purchased something that you have already sold to a number of customers. Really good, solid use case. The second product integration that we have is an integrated analytics dashboard. This is right within Marketing Cloud itself, and you simply log in your two accounts together with your username and password, and then for each journey which you are managing, which contains multiple emails throughout the flow, you can see aggregated performance metrics such as the clicks and opens, but also, really importantly, the actual business results which you're driving on your customer website. So opens, goal achievements, transactions and e-commerce numbers, all right within the same analytics view. There's also the third piece there, a set of functionality available in Analytics 360 around attribution modeling and optimizing and personalizing your website with Optimize 360. And if you use our integration, most of our data is available to use in those subsystems of the Google Marketing Platform as well. It's a really neat bonus of our integrated approach. And then finally, the feature I'm most proud of, which we made generally available last month in February, is audience activation. And this is where, for the first time, audiences from within the Google ecosystem, which you slice and dice and segment and put together in Analytics 360, can be shifted back into Salesforce Marketing Cloud to start a multi-channel marketing journey. So for example, if you have a set of people who browse an area of your site, maybe look at a product and then close a tab and abandon it, those individuals can be synced back to Salesforce Marketing Cloud to take them on a journey to follow up perhaps with an offer or some other email communications. So all of those four features are now available, and we're going to be fleshing out and continuing to expand that set of integrations over time as well. Okay, so that's a lot of me talking about products and beating you over the head with feature slides. But now let's hear from a few of our customer trailblazers. And I'll hand over to Seb at this point, and you can ask them some questions.
Thank you very much, Sullivan. I thought first, so I'm Sebastian. I was smiling down from the slide before, so I work on the Google Marketing Platform. But most importantly, two trailblazers, two customers here. First, making sure that you're not just a talking head. So maybe we start with you, Clint. Can you tell us a little more about your business, your role, and your responsibilities, just to give some context?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm head of marketing for Travel Money Group. We're the foreign currency arm of Flight Centre Travel Group. We act as an independent or a sole business within that. So I get to do our own thing a little bit within this massive sort of travel organisation. We look after Australia and New Zealand, your foreign currency, prepaid travel cards, all those sort of lovely products, and we probably distribute through our own stores, through leisure stores, so Flight Centre, Student Flights, Travel Associates, and plus also corporate. So quite diverse and quite exciting.
Fantastic, thank you. And Tony, apart from having a wonderful picture on the introductory slide. Great hair, by the way. But as, of course, what do you want to tell us a little bit more about your role and what you do at Vocus and what Vocus is?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Tony, I look after the digital marketing team at Vocus. I think to Sullivan's point, we're probably best known as a B2B brand, but I actually work in the consumer space, so we have two pretty well-known consumer brands. So iPrimus is one of them, and Dodo is the other one. And so a lot of the work that I do sits in those two areas, and that's across anything from digital media to content and anything in between, basically. So.
Great, fantastic. So just to kind of dive in right away, so Sullivan showed us a wonderful slide before with multiple products across Google and Salesforce. Maybe Tony, you want to start with this. So like what specifically are you doing with Google and Salesforce? So what products are you using? How do you work with Google and Salesforce? And then what problems are you trying to solve for? What challenges are you trying to overcome with the use of Google and Salesforce technology products?
Sure. I think we're pretty heavily invested with both. So on the Google side, we've got Google Analytics 360 and some of the activation platforms, so DB 360 and Search Ads 360. On the Salesforce side, it's primarily Sales Cloud and Marketing Cloud. I think we're just trying to connect as much as we can together between those two places, and it's great that now the partnership between the two companies means that we're well positioned to take advantage of that. Some of the problems we're trying to solve, I mean, we've historically been a big call center business, so a lot of our traffic drives outbound leads, inbound calls. So this has really been helpful in trying to understand what those leads are doing.
Okay, great, and we'll dive a little bit into that one later. Clint, what about you? Like, what are you using? How do you work with us and our friends from Salesforce, and then what are you trying to solve for?
Yeah, definitely. So Salesforce, we have Salesforce Marketing Cloud primarily, and we use Journey Builder within that. With Google, GA360 has been massive for us, and I guess a couple of the challenges we're trying to overcome, which I think any sort of marketer is understanding your customers more, understanding them across channels, so email to web and being able to talk to them in near real time or as close as we can there. We are a small team, like everyone with constrained budgets. How do we make the most of our partners and platforms with Salesforce and Google? So definitely that's a big push. The third is probably receiving that data. We have vendors and we're backed by MasterCard, but how do we receive that data? How do we action it? And how can sometimes we do that ourselves without waiting for them or not receiving it in a timely manner? So how can we bypass some of those obstacles that come into the way?
Got it. So I'm hearing like similar-ish challenges, similar-ish types of technologies you're using, but definitely a different perspective on the value of the integration between Salesforce and Google. So, you know, Tony, with you was mostly around Sales Cloud and Google Analytics, and for you, Clint, if that's correct, it's Marketing Cloud and Google. So maybe Clint will stay with you for a little bit here.
Yep.
Because, you know, Sullivan mentioned Sullivan, hey, come on, you know, we're friends. Mentioned I think we just launched it a couple of days ago, the audience activation feature within Journey Builder and the Marketing Cloud. Can you talk a little bit about what you're using it for, how you're using it, how you're using Google Audiences to build journeys in Journey Builder?
Yeah, definitely. So I guess to start with the setup, like I was saying before, one of the challenges for us is being able to access data scientists or tech developers and those sort of things. So we work very closely with Salesforce and then internally within our teams to be able to turn it on and be able to action it straight away. So what I've really liked about it is we can get a journey up within a day if we got the audiences built and that sort of stuff within our team. So we're less reliant on everyone else. We're currently using it and have been probably for the last month because it is quite new on email to web, but sort of doing an abandoned cart for our products. And so far so good. So we're open rates above 55%, click-through rates above 10, and if I quantified the amount out, we'll do an extra $250,000, which is good and good for the business based off that with no optimization at all, and being something very easy that we've been able to do with a lot more to come. Do you want me to touch on that now?
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
So you also mentioned when we prepped this here that you're thinking about like diving into a post-transaction journey.
definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, so with that, we can tell if they've gone to from email to the website on a specific destination, so we can tell what currencies they're after, so we can do that with destinational based information. We can do cross-sell, upsell based off products. We definitely want to get into customer reviews and testimonials and based it off there. Probably the one I'm most excited about, because it sort of navigate some of the issues that we can't do it anywhere else, is we have some online tools like a budget tool that's about to launch, and with that we can collect that data, set up those audiences, and then trigger that straight into a journey based off that, web to email.
Fantastic. And you mentioned 55% open rates and 10% click-through. Is that, like, how would you compare that to your traditional campaigns that you're running?
Amazing, to be truthful. I think anyone that's sending out that spray sort of emails, no, and you didn't pay me to say that, but we're looking 15 to 20%. Some of our other ones are up at 40. It's probably one of the best performing that we have currently.
Fantastic. And $250,000 incremental, is that like an annualized number? Or
annualized number.
Okay, and that's early stages, right?
Early stages, no optimization, no testing.
Got it. And when I said before that we only launched this a couple of days ago, just to be clear, this was general availability, whereas you guys have been on the beta, I believe that's correct. Okay, cool.
Yep.
And just before, you're right there, Tony.
I'm not going anywhere.
Explain one thing. So we have a couple of metrics that you shared. They're amazing. Any other benefits? Any other early results or other observations that you want to make, that you want to share, that you've been able to realize so far in terms of benefits?
Yeah, definitely. I think some of it might be a bit more of an insight with the audiences and when you're setting them up, just because the custom dimensions, when you do it, you actually have to create, and we've been able to, quite specific audiences within GA to fire back into Salesforce rather than one large audience pool. But that's probably made us be smarter and really prioritise what sort of order that we want to roll out those next sort of journeys in. So I think that's good knowledge.
Okay.
To have.
Very good, thank you. Tony, you mentioned before, and that's mostly around the the Sales Cloud and Google Analytics, Google Marketing Platform integration.
Yeah.
You mentioned that the challenge of having a business that predominantly gets conversions and leads from offline, right? And that I think you mentioned also that you need to go beyond the lead. Absolutely. And qualifying leads and those things. Can you talk a little bit about the integration between Sales Cloud and Google Analytics, and how you're using offline data to run your media more effectively?
Yeah, sure.
Within the Google Marketing Platform.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically what the integration does is when someone submits a lead on our website, it connects with the Sales Cloud and kind of links those two things, and therefore we can get the information back into Google Analytics as to what the actual status of that lead is. So there's sort of 4 key buckets that I think that it really impacts, and funnily enough, they kind of line up to what Sullivan had on stage before. But first is just measurement, so absolutely just understanding that how did this lead actually pull through, so which ones actually worked and which ones didn't work. The second is optimization, so having that information, then what can you actually do with that in those media channels? And there's some details that I can go into there. The third is activation, so in terms of audiences and what we can create off the back of that, there's a few different audience experiences that both hopefully make our media more effective, but also create a better customer experience for our users. And the fourth is audience profiling, so being able to understand how different cohorts of customers or different value customers actually look and what attributes those people have. So they're sort of the 4 key buckets, I guess.
Got it. And have you, Clint mentioned some early success and shared some metrics. Have you seen any measurable benefits or any insights you've been able to drive or deliver so far, uncover?
Yeah, there's a couple of key things that we've been able to do. So I guess in terms of understanding how our campaigns are performing, not all leads are created equal. A lead's not a lead's not a lead. So we've seen examples where we've got 2 search campaigns. On a lead basis, they both look like they're performing pretty evenly. So usually we'd probably say, all right, we'll fund those campaigns fairly evenly. Actually, when you look at using the integration, actually these campaigns converted at 2.5 times these campaigns. So what that actually means is we're not going to allocate that money 50-50. We're going to dump a whole lot more cash into this one, because the downstream actual result of that is a lot stronger. So that's been one thing. Some of the audiences that we've been using from an activation perspective, we've done stuff like look-aliking only sales that have been closed, so only the customers that ended up pulling through and seeing those sort of audiences perform well. There's some of the key things we've really started with from a results perspective.
Fantastic. And have you been able to already start? You talked about customer segmentation.
Yeah.
And then like channel analytics. Is that something that you've already been able to dive into, or would you say that's early stages?
Bits and pieces. So one of the things we're looking to do at the moment is make ourselves less reliant on the call center. So trying to understand which traffic should we actually dial up the on-site self-service experience for by profiling what's the profile of someone that completes a lead versus what's the profile of someone that applies online. We're then able to say, actually, if we see this kind of user, then maybe do this a bit differently. So.
Okay, great, fantastic.
Yeah.
So technology is one thing, as I'm sure we can all agree. In terms of building the capability and knowledge and expertise, like how have you guys gone about implementing this, running it, and delivering value so far? So Clint, you want to talk about this a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. I guess I'm fortunate. I have someone in my team that's been using Salesforce for a long time in another business, but I think with we jumped on a call with Salesforce and our account manager there and just worked through a couple of little things of how we were going to operate. And then literally we sort of have a coordinator who does all our journeys for us. And she's been able to pick it up extremely quickly because the system is so easy. So I think it's down, the technology has enabled the team. Obviously with the trailhead and that sort of stuff, we've been able to pick it up a lot easier, and she's just been sort of self-learning going. We also did a fair bit of work with Deloitte Analytics on setting up our analytics, so I think that's core to being able to do and being able to scale it in the future across both Australia and New Zealand websites, and we got a secure platform, so that was probably the starting point. And because we have that, it is a lot easier for us to create those journeys.
Got it. And the bits in Google Analytics, like the audience segmentation, creating audiences before you push them into the marketing cloud, like how did you go about that? And has that been relatively straightforward?
Yeah, it has been relatively straightforward. I think because we had that base, I relied on our e-commerce leader and our partners, Deloitte, to sort of help there and really go through. So I don't have the technical because I'm not very good at that, to be honest. I'll talk to the numbers. Yeah, so good. She's in the front row probably laughing at me and going, you don't know what you're talking about.
She's laughing.
But yeah, definitely. But I think just having that, they've been able to set it up easy. We have those next ones ready to roll out, and literally if we have the audience, we can go live in a day. So.
Okay, fantastic. But it sounds like you were able, or had to, or what are you going to call it, do a lot of the heavy lifting in-house, and we're like, happy about it.
Yeah.
Tony, how did you go about it?
So we
had with partners.
Yeah, we work closely with our Google Analytics 360 implementation partner, Data Runs Deep. So they worked with some people from Vocus. Actually, shout out, a couple of them are in the audience today that really drove this. And so working together, they were able to identify this was a good fit for us, and then customize the implementation and make sure that the fields are passing through as they should. Talk about what some of the initial use cases might be, and then, to be honest, the internal team's now been able to pick it up and run with it. So it's been great. I think it's one of those capabilities where you start off with one thing in mind and one goal, and then we've just been able to find sort of all these other use cases that have popped out of thin air that are really exciting. So,
got it. Great.
Great.
Any based on, so you've been doing this for a few months now, working in the two platforms and two technologies. Any one or two things that you want to make sure people leave with and don't forget about when it comes to setting up the tech, implementing it, running it, like how to think about value long term?
I think mine's exactly that. Like if you've got an initial use case that makes a good idea, then go for it, and then you will easily find value from that, but also a bunch of other things that you won't even realize you could do until you got there. So that's probably my biggest learning from this whole thing.
Would you say the use cases, like I'm sure you had some use case in mind when you like dove into the integration.
Yeah.
Would you say that has changed?
So we're using those use cases we originally had in mind. We're still getting use out of, but I think it's just the additional use cases on top of that we've been able to come up with. So
okay.
I mean, I can go through a couple if there's time.
Please.
Yeah. So I mean, at the moment, we basically have the integration set up so that we know if a lead converts to a sale or whether it doesn't. The next sort of thing we want to do is actually take that through to the next level and say, we want to know what product, we want to know what value. be able to set up automated bidding so that if you understand this lead actually led to this sale, then theoretically you can just auto-optimize to a lead outcome from a search perspective or from a display perspective. So we think that could be really powerful. We're even starting to look at whether we can use this integration to track inbound calls and how inbound calls convert to a sale, similar to some other sort of call tracking capabilities.
Wow.
So there's just things that we just didn't think about, and as time's gone on, we're finding more and more ways to use it.
So you've been given the tools and the toys, and now you can come up with great solutions.
Most of the credit goes to my team and the other teams, but
Of course.
I think, as a collective, we're just really able to throw things at the wall and create a roadmap that we're trying to work towards.
Right. And then, Clint, same question to you.
Yeah, probably on this one we worked in reverse. We didn't have the user cases right at the start. I think having a strong relationship with Google and with Salesforce and seeing the possibilities, and they were like, this is a new function. We heard that it was coming, and from there going, hey, this is something we could actually do something really cool with, and can add a lot of value to the business while we're doing a massive data project to show that actual data does generate revenue in a real quick way. So after we knew that, knew it was out there, then we come up with some user cases that were like, we think these will generate us some great ROI from the get-go. So usually we would do the user cases first, but I think also having relationships. I think having relationships is integral to marketers.
Got it. And when you say ROI, would you say personalization as part of that equation? And if so, like how do you think about it?
Oh, good question. That wasn't on your palm card, Seb, beforehand.
Well, you mentioned before, I thought it was interesting.
No. ROI, I think you can see a couple of different ways. Marketers should be the voice of the customers, so how are we putting something in front of them that they really want to see? That will generate income or generate returning users or whatever you want that sort of metric to be. I think if you're doing it from that perspective, everything from the business upside will flow from there. So we'd really try to put our customer hat on first, be that sort of voice of the customer and push it through that way, knowing that the business will benefit in the end, which we need to do. Yeah.
Got it. So a good customer experience will ultimately result.
Right message, right time, right place. Yeah,
right.
You know them.
Okay, now we are. You know.
Yeah.
Now we're almost bang on time. Sally, I hope you listened well, because now the ask is, can you give us the 3 takeaways based on the talk and the presentations you gave before? That people should not forget, cannot forget, must not forget.
Absolutely. Well, just listening as both speakers, both customers here have been talking, a couple of things occurred to me. Firstly, maybe that divide, particularly in Tony's example, the divide between kind of traditional classic B2C and B2B use cases is a bit artificial, a bit out of date. Regardless of which kind of cloud in Salesforce you happen to use, which part of your business maybe you're working in, you can benefit from integrating these platforms together. It kind of leads me to the second point as well, which is a kind of there's a multiplicity here. There's by combining these platforms and integrating Salesforce and Google Marketing Platform together, it's kind of 1 and 1 is more than 2. It's leading you to get more from the integration of the 2 things together. And then third, just to be slightly cheesy perhaps as a segue, I think enabling yourselves to understand all of these kind of integrations is really important. If you press the next slide button there, you will also see that we do now have a trail available on Trailhead. So if you'd like to learn more about our integrations, please do go to Trailhead and take the trail about our integration. And with that, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming along, and big thanks to our customer trailblazers for taking part today.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.